In this week's pubisode, we settle down in a dark and weary nook at the Dirty Houdini, where we discuss whether wine tasting is a load of old cobblers, look at the inner workings of the Book Nook puzzle, and chat with Step Lockyer about his puzzle bucket list. So here we are sitting in the Dirty Houdini with the cloakroom is full of unclaimed straitjackets, taking a quick break after our escape from the locked room of Renard Fuscus to have a drink and a chat about the room what we just did. But first, it's my round, so what's everybody drinking?
Well, Jamie, I'll have a Cape Verdean grog with a side of baklava and a really, really clash cultures.
Wow, that's amazing. I was expecting you to put it in the drink like a cherry or an umbrella.
It's tempting. I feel though the paste.
It's the world's stickiest dessert, isn't it?
Yeah. But the grog, I had the grog last time, and I have an entire bottle of this stuff.
Does it get better with age? I say age. It's been a week or so, but
I quite like it. It's like slightly sweetened bad whiskey.
Okay.
And if we had a Cape Verdean listener, we don't have them anymore now I've said that.
I'll check the stats later.
And the baklava is
oh, amazing.
Right, John's tapped out for the rest of the episode. Now he's scoffed the entire baklava.
Chewing baklava with his teeth stuck together.
Yeah, his jaw is now completely fused together. all for the previouslys next week will just be clips of you just making those noises. Previously on the Infinite Escape Room.
Stop it now.
Every single listener's like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, I think John's tapped out, Laura.
Yeah, I'm on the apple juice this evening.
That's very sensible.
Nice cold apple juice, yeah.
Is this because you are trying to be sensible, or is it because Mike left you at the altar, as it were, when it came to recording this episode? Because I didn't say at the top of the show, because Mike was meant to be here at this recording, but pulled out 90 minutes before we hit go live because he had better things to do, apparently. But thankfully, Laura graciously stepped in into the breach and supported us. So thank you, Laura.
No problem. I'm on the apple juice because it's what was in the fridge.
Nice. So not only did he ditch the podcast and left you picking up the pieces, he also didn't even think to restock the fridge with something delicious.
Did buy me the apple
so selfish.
Okay.
So selfish.
Well, he also, let's be fair, it's not that he ditched her at the proverbial altar here. It would be like ditching someone at the altar, but slightly breaking the altar before you did it and then leaving.
I'm going through an experimental phase where I play a game with Lidl, see how cheap the wine can be and if it's still palatable or not.
Ouch.
So I'm drinking a 5.49 Rioja, allegedly from Spain, allegedly 2019, allegedly wine. It's not bad, but it's one of those ones that gives you, it's got the flavour of apricots and hangover, I would say.
It's the second bottle of wine where you've had the nice one and now you'll drink anything.
Yes. It's the second one for the guests.
When I was like 17 to 18 a bit, I had a girlfriend. I had other girlfriends at various points. Not just one ever.
She's from Canada, guys. You wouldn't have seen
her. She used to sort of live some of the time with her granddad. I'd go over there
in Canada,
and he was it was a hell of a trip in Wales actually, but there we are in a place genuinely called Happy Valley.
Oh wow!
Where there is no phone signal, which might be why they're happy.
True.
Anywho, he Bob Lake, God rest his soul, nice guy, loved his whiskey, and he had 2 bottles of whiskey on the go at any given time, and one was the good whiskey, and he would have one tot of the good whiskey at the start of the evening, and then he'd switch to, and I'm not kidding, Tesco's own brand value.
Wow.
You know, the one that used to have like the white and blue striped label, that stuff. Because he said this with the conviction of a value seeker, after you've had the first one, you can't tell the difference.
That is wise pearls of wisdom. But Tesco value whiskey, I'm not a whiskey drinker, but even I know that sounds abhorrent. Like
just off-colored water.
Even if you drink it, you're not a whiskey drinker.
Like when the label looks like a health warning, just blue and yellow bars. Just Step away.
Steer clear. Steer clear. Yeah.
I mean, does the wine you've got, Step, does it taste like it costs $5.49?
No, do you know what? It's all right. It's okay. I had a £30 bottle of wine on Saturday, and it's not discernibly different to that. So
This is it.
I mean, the research has shown that if you don't know how much, if you're told it's an expensive bottle of wine, you feel like it tastes expensive. I did a wine tasting course once, and it was brilliant. But so much of it is down to ambience, the food that you're having with it, the temperature, your temperature. Like, there's so many factors. It's really hard to have a consistent good wine anyway. So yeah, it's fine. It's palatable.
I'm always interested each year, much like the sort of Christmas mince pie tests where different newspapers like send a clearly very bored journalist around to try all the mince pies and judge them. But they do one with the champagnes or the sparkling wines. And it's always fascinating because there's always a budget hero that beats the blind testers.
Yeah.
These, like sommeliers, professional people who put the blindfold on, and every now and again, one of the budget ones gets through, like Lidl's 15 quid one gets through. And always impressed by that.
I saw he was on TikTok because I'm cool and youthful and all that kind of jazz. A clip off from one of the BBC radio shows, and they had a water sommelier on. And they had him test 5 different kinds of water.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
What?
It's a thing. It's a thing now.
A water sommelier.
That's ridiculous.
They gave him 5 different kinds of water, and they were from different regions, etc. And you had to taste them all, and you had to match the unmarked glass to the bottle. And he was like, "Oh, that's definitely the one from the fucking Picant region or whatever it was."
And did he?
Well, it turns out that all 5 were tap water from the kitchen.
Amazing.
You just see his face just be like, "My life is a lie."
Yeah.
I think he tried his best to recover, but the damage is done at that point because water is fucking water.
Water, yeah.
Unless it comes from the Welsh valleys and mountains.
Here we go.
Brewed for millennia in the mountains of Snowdon.
Well, of course, if you go near the coast, down to the Tories, water is smellier, isn't it? So,
Hey.
thank you very much. Thank you and good night.
Everyone, Step has leapt through his own conservatory window, which is an expensive stunt at the best of times, and is gone.
I'm out of here.
We started strong with the dad jokes. I think this is going to be the tone for the rest of the thing, and I'm here for it. I'm all for it. And hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm drinking a classic for the podcast, a Hobgoblin Gold. Can't go wrong. Also purchased from Aldi. And yeah, I know I say this often enough, but I am drawn 90% to the fact that it's called Hobgoblin, but it does taste really nice as well. And I don't want to bother myself trying other beers if I know this one's nice enough.
I wonder if that's middle age, that moment where you see all the beers or whatever it is, or your wine or whatever it is, and you just see the one that's familiar and go, oh.
Yeah. I've become the embodiment of, I know what I like.
Yeah, I'm all for this. Like, I've realised as I'm getting older that it's not that old people are fussy. It's just that they've tried everything. They can't be bothered to try it. They found the thing that they like. Screw it. Just stick with it. And I feel like I'm getting that. I'm still got an interest in things, but at the end of the day, I don't want to try another fancy cheese. I know exactly what cheeses I like. I'm happy to stick with my cheeses.
And also, and I think this is especially the case with wine, the differences are there, but it's not like there's a sort of golden wine out there waiting for you to find it. That's the perfect wine. They're all a bit different.
Yes.
And once you've found one or two that like, oh yeah, I like the taste of that, you could just keep buying those.
There's a price range as well. Now stick in this price range and that'll do.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting now, though, is that you got all the people that were sort of kids in the 90s when all the rave scene and stuff was about, who've now hit middle age going, can't be asked with this fentanyl bollocks, just give me good old-fashioned ketamine. I know exactly what I like. I've had it since I was a weean. I know what it does. I'm fine.
So on my last theatre job, which was understudying on a West End show, which is a mixed blessing at the best of times, but it was interesting. We were discussing drugs in the dressing room at one point. And it turned out everyone in the dressing room except me had done a fair bit of coke. And I've never partaken. And my immediate reaction, because I like trying new things, was, so you've ordered this and I haven't. I should try that. And they looked at each other, then looked at me, and one of them said, No, you shouldn't. We'll start you off on Ket, John. And don't worry, we'll all be very good. You have a nice time, but no cocaine for you. And they have not explained themselves.
Yeah, is that like looking out for you, or is it like genuinely concerned about
looking out for them?
Yeah, what you might become?
I did get quite excited.
Coke Monster.
Coke Monster, the Muppet that never was.
Cokey.
Coke Monster.
Jim Henson, what are you doing? You're wasting this opportunity.
Cokey.
It's perfect, because then you've got Ketamine the Frog. They all sound like they're taking various drugs anyway, so this is perfect. Disney, I am waiting for your call.
Ketamine the Frog.
It is a horse tranquilizer. I suppose
think
it
we
could be
broke
quite a
John.
comedy horse.
Oh, I don't know why that really killed me.
I'm going to spend the rest of the night now coming up with Muppet-based drug puns. This is me now until 3 a.m. Thanks. A little bit of a spoiler warning for the next section. If you've not listened to the previous episode, stop now immediately. What do you think you're doing? Go listen to that episode, or not. You live your life, and I can't tell you what to do, because we will be going in depth about how we solve the puzzle. And I suppose also spoiler warning that I'll put retroactively in the previous episode, because I'm guessing, Step, that this episode spoils how to solve your Book Nook.
It does indeed, and I appreciate that if you're going to listen to this, then you are going to know exactly how to play this one. But I like the fact that there are 3 sets in the series, and this is the one that I feel you would make for someone else to play, because a lot of the functions. For example, there's a hidden section under the floorboards. You have to build that, so you're never going to discover that. You have to hide a magnetic paddle in a hollow CCTV camera. You have to build the boards. There's lots of things that you have to hide that you then wouldn't be able to discover. Whereas the other 2, the puzzles are built in and hidden, so that you can't solve the puzzles until you've built it. So
Nice.
If, for example, you couldn't look through, they'll come with a booklet that you cut out some of the sections for and all the pieces, but you have to construct it to solve the puzzles. So you can't just flick through and go, I've worked that one out. You have to build them. Whereas this one, as you build it, you'll discover them. So I kind of feel like this is a nice one for someone else to play. You build it and someone else plays it. I mean, you can obviously play it yourself. And it's so that all the bits that I described, like the magnetic door, that all works, and it's hugely exciting. Like so satisfying to play with. Yeah.
I love it.
I wonder how many of these are going to get broken by people just prodding bits of the room with the magnet into.
Yes.
Oh, if I pull on the light starts to come down. Maybe it's that smash.
If we play like we do,
it's just that would be such a beautiful microcosm of how people actually play in real escape rooms.
Yes, yeah.
This bit's starting to give. No.
I'd like to see a version of the room in this sort of format from the other side. So we're in an actual escape room. All of a sudden, this giant fucking meaty mitt comes crashing through the window, just starts poking shit against the wall.
So this is 1 to 12 scale, which I blame the Americans for, and it's probably, although it's probably an empire thing, but it's basically 1 foot is 1 inch. So the reverse would be someone 12 times a hand 12 times its normal size coming into the room and manipulating it. Yeah.
That's existential horror right there. So in the last episode, we solved the mystery of the locked room with Renard Fuscus, not Rene Fucker, as I put him in my notes initially. The
Poor Renee.
The pseudo Darren Brown, who managed to escape from a locked room with the help of some deftly placed magnets, some tracing paper, some very well described symbols, I might say. But, I think we did really well.
All having a wee.
Well, it wasn't. That's the way they were drawn. I'm sorry. They all looked like they had a jet of urine coming off the bottom. Steps here. Did we complete things in the order you expect us to? Did we do anything that was a bit not cool?
I remember you said we brute forced one section.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a nice play test actually, because the symbols on the floor plan match up with the symbols on the tracing paper, and it's supposed to be that you see those you put the two symbols from each of the rooms that signal together, and then it gives you the correct order for the words. But actually, by looking at the words, you were fairly quickly able to work out exactly what you should do anyway. So what I need to do is build another gate in there so that you match up the symbols and then it reveals the words. So I'll probably do that by separating the letters and having them sparsely stacked out so that you can only see the word lever when you've got the two boards together, so that those letters will match up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because John, you clocked it from the words lever and hole, didn't you? So
yeah, I mean, it helped that Step then helpfully reminded us that those two have what looks like a symbol, but is actually a hole in them. And it's always the way with these things when they're audio described, because from that description, I then focus like a laser on those two planks.
Yeah.
And it was clear to me quickly what they were for.
And again, in terms of playtest, I should move the holes to a different location so that it's not so obvious that it's those two.
Yeah, maybe actually that's not a bad idea. So that or perhaps I wonder, is there a way that all of the planks have a hole in them, but they are not in the correct place, so that you have to use those two? Just so that you don't have two that are so clearly different from all the others. Because the word, I don't know what it's even called, the word ordering puzzle, like Laura was cracking on with it, and I didn't even really try that. And it's a shame because it's lovely. So
that's really nice thought. That's really nice thought. Yeah. I can certainly put holes in all of them and hide the joining part somewhere else. You were very, very intrigued by the fluorescent light, and there genuinely isn't anything in that. So I could quite easily place the joining pin, which is a paper fastener. You know, the paper fasteners from school? Yeah. So I could very easily place that, a gap at each end, and have one so that they can pull it out and then use that to...
So what brought you onto the idea of creating a puzzle game inside a Book Nook?
Well, during lockdown, I got this kit, and then during lockdown, I was packing flat pack, I was making full deck, and I needed something else to distract me. And I had this
because the 4 kids weren't enough.
Well, yeah. But you know, it's like in lockdown. You take up hobbies and do sorts of random things. And so I had this Book Nook kit, and I started making it. And you spend hours in the evenings making it, cutting it out with sharp knife and a metal ruler and whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is so ripe for being something puzzly. Like a miniature escape room would be amazing. And so I built, rather than measuring an existing one, I thought, well, let's see if I can engineer it myself, work out how I can build this room and build the size. But I knew that because two-thirds of the things I sell go to America, so I reverse engineered it from a letterbox size. So I thought I need to fit it all into a letterbox size. So that restricted me height and width wise, and then worked out how to build the sizing. And then for the second and third ones, I thought it's really hard to put your hand in and adjust things in a Book Nook, which is why these ones have got hinged walls.
Oh,
so
nice.
If someone's saying this one, that's the CCTV. Sorry, that's the CCTV sticker that they can use the
magnet
for. So they can actually open the door.
In there.
So they'd have to not look behind. But yes, so the hinged walls are something that I've never seen before in a Book Nook at all. But there's obviously never a need for a hinged wall. But when you're looking at things, it's really important.
For the one that we played, are there any sort of trivia references, any nuggets that you hid in there? Because you mentioned that it's sort of like a mentalist kind of Darren Brown vibe. Anything like that? Any nods you put into the game?
Well, I can ask you guys. I'm toying with having a blue light effect. I'd like to have a pentagram on the floorboards. Ooh. So using a blue light that appears, but I'm not sure if it's needed. I'm not sure if it would benefit it or not. But the pentagram obviously would sit over the hatch just as a guiding point for them to noticed that there is actually a hidden hatch under the floorboards, but I'm not sure.
I guess you've got issues there with light direction, haven't you? Because it's under the table. Because I was thinking immediately of the hanging light. Wouldn't it be so cool if that could light up as a black light and have a use?
Yeah,
that would be bitching.
But the table is directly underneath it, so it wouldn't shine down on the.
You could have one under the table.
The only other thing you could do,
that's true, Lord,
is to fit a black light under the table itself.
Yeah.
This is kit-wise. This is the most expensive one because in terms of materials, because it's got chain, it's got acetate in it. The tracing paper needs to be printed, and tracing paper is so extraordinarily expensive to print. And it's got 4 different material types, but I think for the effect, it might be quite a nice little signaler. What do you think, guys?
It would make a really cool moment. I suppose the pentagram would be the only real overt supernatural element visually of it so far. So I don't think that would be too much of a shift from like magician and mentalist to occult.
There's definitely a point there, Jamie, in that there's something lovely about the fact that it is a very Spartan room, but everything is there. Nothing is hidden, not really. And I quite like that. It really made me think of that moment when you first walk into a real life escape room. If the room is full of things, you think, oh, okay, there's lots to look at here. There's lots of drawers to open, lots of stuff to do. But if you walk in and the room appears to be very bare, you think, oh, sugar, where do I begin?
Yeah.
Which panel on this blank wall is going to open to reveal something? There's a sort of a slight sense of not dread, but a different sense to that I like.
Love it. Step, for people who don't know who you are, could you give us a very brief introduction to what you do, what Enigmailed does, the kind of stuff that you've currently got out right now?
Yeah, so I can. So I'm mainly known for puzzle chocolate, which is chocolate from a company called Kerno in Cornwall, and they make really, really lovely chocolate. And we've got, I think, 20 different flavours now that we sell with a little story, and it's got 4 puzzles, and someone called it like coffee break puzzles. So they're not so hard that you've got to spend hours on. There's normally a very midsummerish twee story of this idyllic village where mischief is going on, and then 4 puzzles around the edge. And so I have quite a few people subscribe to that. And then I do other puzzles. So my last project, which I last spoke about on here, was Notable Remains, which was a giant map puzzle. I've done a serial killer game called Full Deck, where there were puzzles hidden in ephemera, shopping lists and post-it notes and stuff. I've done one with my friend Matt, which was Flat Pack, hidden just like an IKEA catalogue with puzzles hidden in, all sorts. Mange 2 is my favourite. It's the least popular of my games, but it's my favourite, and that is
always the way.
A puzzle game that's disguised as a packet of seeds, and then each month you get another packet of seeds, which has got a little piece of paper with a fold in, and it's got some really tricky puzzles in with some nice... So that used all sorts of things. I've got one which used water and heat, and there's an NFC tag in one, and there's all sorts of little devices in there that I was really, really pleased with. But it's not hugely popular, but I really like it. I really like it.
Well, I like about the Mange 2, isn't it? The case, like the puzzle, it looks like a packet of seeds. Like you wouldn't think twice about it. I think you nailed the aesthetic of it to the point that when you shipped it internationally, customs got a bit nervous because there were little beads and dots in there. So they were like, what the fuck is this? It's got all strange symbols on it and stuff.
Yeah. So
did this happen?
Yeah, genuinely, yes. We had like 3 or 4 packages seized by customs and destroyed because they believed that I was sending drugs.
What was so you covered a bit why you enjoyed doing this. What was your first puzzle that you created?
I did a puzzle game called Prisoner 7, 2019, I think. That was a Tudor-inspired book that I've retired now because I people got very angry, and we had a forum for it, and people got very angry about some of the puzzles. And the difficulty with doing a legacy item like that is that when you change them, some people still have the old, like I've got puzzle books on my shelf from 4 years ago, and I get really narked if the forum was referencing a completely different puzzle. So I retired that bad boy.
That was your first. That was the first puzzle that you made, and you thought, I shall take this to the world.
The first published one, yeah.
One thing I like is if you're playing a game of like Only Connect, and someone gives you like the words IKEA catalog, packet of seeds, beer coasters.
Oh yeah.
The connection is this is all stuff that Steps decided. Let's put a puzzle in that motherfucker, which is quite nice. Like, do you set out to put puzzles into things that usually have no business having puzzles put in them, or is that
no? But I think it's the guy who the Dilbert guy who writes Dilbert.
Yeah.
He said he's not a particularly good artist. He's not a good humorist. He's not a really good writer. He's moderate at all of those things, but he's found that those intersect well to become Dilbert. And I think that I'm not the best puzzle designer. I'm not the best creator, but I'm very good at seeing where two things could join up. I'm really good at finding that Venn. So Monday to Wednesday, I'm a teacher, and lots of people feel like teaching can be quite constrictive and rigorous and very unimaginative, whereas I think it's just amazingly creative. Like, I love it.
I mean, if you're a teacher and you're struggling to find low-cost tracing paper for the game, you could just nick all the toilet paper from the bogs. Because that's the same consistency. That's easy money then.
Damage from our childhood, that, Jamie, isn't it?
Have you got something on your bucket list for something that you want to put a puzzle into that you're like waiting in the wings to add in?
Yes. So I've got two.
I've got body.
two future projects that I'm happy to share. The first one is, after the Book Nook, is going to be a puzzle magazine.
Cool.
For children, called Flummox, and that is that's going to pre-launch soon, featuring a brilliant editor that some of you will be familiar with. But I'm not going to mention any names. Oh. And the second one is like a long-term itch that I haven't been able to scratch yet. And that is, I need some context to give you some context here, is if you get all the coins from all the sterling coins, so 1p, 2p, 5p, 10, 20, 50, the pound and the £2, they've got a part of a shield on them. When you put them together, they form a shield.
I did not know this.
For years, I've wanted to make a puzzle game, which you will get a little pouch, which has got a whole load of coins in, different sizes, different thicknesses, maybe even one or two different colours. And you put them in different combinations to reveal certain things. And I haven't quite resolved how I'm going to do that yet, because if you use different lines for different shapes, it'll be really obvious to just try and join those together. I haven't quite solved how I'm going to do that yet. But that's the one I've had that idea for a few years, but I haven't worked it out yet. I haven't worked out how I can make it. I know exactly how I can make it, but I haven't worked out how I can make the puzzle. Does that make sense?
I love it. I know it's the kind of thing that you get the more puzzle games that you play, the more escape rooms you play. At least I get it, where you start to seek out puzzle elements in everyday things. Like you'll see some printer error on a shopping list and go, "There's a fucking puzzle in there," and things like that. So I think what you're slowly doing is making the nation more paranoid that there's extra hidden depths to everyday items. Like when Doctor Who was first revived, like people used to say in the fan community that Stephen Moffat's goal was to make you terrified of everyday objects like statues, blinking, and forgetfulness. I think that's what you're doing now with puzzles, is to make people go, "That clock's a fucking puzzle." And you go, "No, it's just a clock."
Yes.
Yeah, are you sure though? Are you sure? And I admire that. I salute you.
I do like the idea that you could look around an Enigmailed living room now, and there'd be an IKEA catalogue, but it's actually a flat pack catalogue. And there's a packet of seeds that need planting, but actually it's Mange too. And there's a Book Nook, but it's actually an escape. You know, I love that. It's got such an ugly word, but that hidden in plain sight. Like the whole Indiana Jones thing, where he looks at the floor and it's there. Like, I love that.
Yeah, that's my main thing, is that sense of discovery and that light bulb of,
Yes.
fuck, that's what it is. I mean,
Yes.
you've got the perfect opportunity for like a guerrilla marketing campaign where you just go to an IKEA showroom with every single product that you've made and just put it into one of those rooms and see how many people pass by and not realize.
Well, we've got, I live in they call it a village. It's a suburb in London, but we've got a really lovely little library, and it's run by volunteers. They're the sweetest people, but I'm so desperate to take one of the Book Nooks along and just leave it on one of the shelves and then secretly film people's reactions to it, because I just thought I think it'd be funny.
That'd be superb.
But they're so sweet that I don't want to upset them, so I might have to ask their permission first.
Yeah, that'd be fair. Just playing with biscuits, that usually makes people fine.
Yeah.
They do. Now, on Saturday mornings, they do biscuits and tea. It's so sweet.
Just turn up,
Sweet.
Book Nook in hand, bourbons in the other,
Yes.
or bourbon, depending on the time of day. So the Book Nook is going to be a series of 3 puzzle games coming to Kickstarter.
Yes.
Yes. When is it launching?
Well, interesting question, Jamie. So probably June, but the plan is that it'll be buy 1 set, 2 sets, or 3 sets, and you can and you don't have to specify which one at that point. You can just go, I want those 2, or I want that one. And so there's 3 different ones. There's the Sherlock Holmes one, the artist one, and then the Darren Brown one. And you can choose after the fact, after the survey, which one you'd like.
Love it.
Yeah.
And if we're able to, we'll put a link to the campaign, the Notify Me pre-launch campaign page in the show notes if it's ready. If not, we'll add it in as soon as it is. Where can people find you on the internet if they want to get in touch?
Everywhere, Jamie. You know that. So I'm at Enigmailed on everything. I was very lucky. I scouted out the name before I pimped for it. Yeah. So Enigmailed. I'm mostly, I would say, on Twitter. Probably mostly on Twitter, but I do veer towards Facebook sometimes. Yeah.
Superb. We'll put all the links to all the social channels in the show notes as well.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Thank you for playing the game.
Our pleasure. I'm also very glad that me personally wasn't physically playing the game, because I would definitely break it.
Yeah.
Well,
This man snapped a Lego man in half. You broke a Lego man's legs.
Well, that's the bell for last orders, so it's time for us to bugger off into the night. So we shall see you next time, where we're escaping from another tunnel beneath some mysterious floorboards.
We've done a lot of tunnels.
We have done.
Tunnels are handy.
Most of my episodes recently have been underground, which is bizarre. I'm not quite sure why. I'm from the Welsh Valleys. That's probably what it is. Born and raised in a mine. Need to go back home. We love you lots, and we'll see you next time on the Infinite Escape Room. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And we'll walk out into the night, get a kebab, singing, embracing, swaying as we go, sick in a bin, falling asleep in an old man's pocket. Wonderful. The metaphor kind of tailed off.
It's taking a dark turn.
I wasn't quite sure. We've all been there. Or is it just...
Are we still miniature?
Yes, we're borrowers. Nothing warmer than an old man's pocket.